Okay, guys, it is super late, but I had to get on here and make this video because I watched this video earlier and the comments on here are so egregious, so vile, tearing the collar apart, and there's so much to unpack here. So I'm on here for you guys. I'm screen recording. We'll see if this works out, and I'm going to rewatch the video with you guys and pause and so on and so forth. Okay? This is Dr. John.
How do I let go of some bitterness or resentment towards my husband about poor career decisions he made a few years ago?
Tell me about it.
Well, okay. So first of all, he did not do anything illegal or immoral or behind my back. I just want to put that out there. So some background, my husband and I have been married for about 7 years. And for the first 4.5, 5 years of our marriage, he was in the Marine Corps. And so I don't know how many veterans you've sat with, but the transition out of the military is like a big piece of this story. So coming out of the military.
Okay, I have more to talk about this on this later, but I have dated several men who had left the military and had a really rough transition back to civilian life. Not when I was with them, but I met each of them right as they were coming out of this. And so I think I have some perspective on that. Let's see if it will play. Whoop, here we go.
He found a short-term job working in sports social media. It was a lot of fun. It was something he really enjoyed, but it didn't translate into anything long-term. So then, against my better judgment, and maybe his own, he took a job in commission-only sales. And that...
Okay. Commission-only sales. I've had several relatives, I think 3 relatives at this point, in the last 5 years do commission-only sales, and none of them made any money. These companies are so predatory. I know that there are some commission-only sales things that are legit, but I personally have never seen that happen. So it has really been an issue with family members of mine.
That was a really, really tough year. Really tough.
Emotionally or financially or both?
Both.
Okay.
Both. And, it was one of those things that I am still, I think, also kicking myself for, I don't want to say allowing, but kind of allowing that to go on as long as it did.
Okay, that's interesting, right? Is she positioning herself as the gatekeeper because that's what she's been socialized to do in her relationship? Is it because he is passive and she's kind of falling into that role because he's not doing what he needs to do? Is she controlling? We'll see, right? It could be one of several things.
So then after that, when I basically said to him about a year into commission-only sales, honey, you're not making any money. We can't keep doing this. Then he found his way to a part-time job.
Okay, so my relatives, each of the 3 of them, were only in their commission sales roles for, I think one was there for a few months, and then the other 2, I think they were each there less than 6 weeks. So this guy was making no money for an entire year. Okay.
In a major retail chain just to have some money coming in. Mm-hmm. And then that translated into a full-time job at said retail.
I also want to point out, she said, I had to point out to him after 1 year of making no money, hey, this isn't working. And then he goes and gets a part-time job to supplement his non-existent commissions, and then he transitions that into his main gig. So he was not initiating that. He was just 1 year in, I don't know if it's a sunk cost fallacy or what was going on, but he was not going to change what he was doing until she brought it up. So again, is she controlling it? Sometimes people are. Sometimes people are in situations where the other person is not taking any action, so it almost brings out a overly controlling appearance in the other person, because if they don't speak up or if they don't do anything, the other person will just drive the car off the cliff. So, what are you going to do?
Chain, and that's what he's doing now. But it's not. He doesn't love it. It's it's kind of blah, but it's a okay fit for now because we have good benefits and we have a young family and so on. But I think I'm still holding on to a lot of tension from that year of commission only sales.
So is the job the proxy? Meaning, are you able to look at the job and be upset with him about the job when really he was pretty ugly to you? Or
no.
Okay.
I think we've had some really ugly conversations about it.
Tell me about it. Tell me about those.
Well, maybe some anger, maybe some blaming, maybe some denial.
On your part or his part?
I think both. I think the fact that he kept getting up and doing this job for a year, I think there was denial on both of our parts.
But hold on. How old are you?
31.
Okay. I guess let me back all the way out. It's very, very common. Very common. And you know this because this is y'all's community. Especially a Marine. They get out and they get home and they're just full.
And they're a menace. I dated one.
Civilian life. Number one, they're told this from day one. Number two, many of them have this lived experience that you can do anything now that you have this training, this support network, and this skill set. It's also very easy to think, if I did X, Y, and Z, I was deployed, I was doing all this stuff behind the scenes, I was living this rigorous of a life, dude, I can go I can do anything.
Yeah.
So there's pride here and there's entitlement. And it might be, I'm not saying it's a totally bad thing to be proud of your accomplishments, but you see what he's saying about some of these military guys. They're like, oh, these civilians, they have it easy. Like, this is going to be a piece of cake, Like, I've been doing all this crazy stuff and yeah, piece of cake. And then they realize, oh, actually, not so much. And some entitlement that maybe it's an accidental thing, but they're told by other people, oh, if you go into the military, you'll be able to do anything, you'll be able to transition to anything. And a lot of that depends on how much reverence we have for our military at any given time, which is a weird word to use, but it's America, so some people kind of worship the troops. And also it has to do with what's going on with our federal budget, and are they cutting jobs? And as you know, with this administration, a lot of positions are affected that veterans would have first priority hiring and would probably be put into those roles. So, people expect a certain thing and they're sold a dream, and that doesn't pan out to reality.
And so there's something to be said for a really powerful, important lesson of finding out, oh, this isn't for me. And so as you're telling me this story, I keep thinking, what a freaking heroic guy to get up day after day to a job that has one mark.
See, that's all well and good, but when you have a growing family and little kids, as she's going to get into later, we're just about to get into the juicy part of this call, you don't have really the luxury to just sort of throw spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks. Unless you have very supportive family or a big backup cushion of money, you need to pay your bills. Now, I do believe that a sense of purpose is important for both men and women. I think a good long-term goal is to find work that there's dignity in it and you have a sense of purpose and you're satisfied with it and it's a right fit for you. I think that's a great long-term goal. But the short term is you got a family, you got bills. Sometimes you have to push that, not 10 years down the road, but maybe 1 or 2 years down the road, or even 6 months down the road, whatever the case may be. Buy yourself some time, create a little bit of a margin, a little bit of a cushion, right? A little bit of delayed gratification there.
In it of success, and that is dollars.
Yeah.
And to try and try and try and try. And it might be that you're wrestling with, I married a guy that could do anything.
So John is like, oh, it's so heroic that he was waking up every day. Like, a year? Is it heroism? Or is it, like she said, denial? She said both of them, she and her husband, were in denial. Where, yeah, it does take courage to try new things. However, if you've tried something new and you've given it a good go, and it's not working out and you're continuing to ignore the signs that you're not in alignment, are you really being courageous? You're actually being cowardly in a sense because you are hiding from reality and you're living in denial. So I really don't actually agree with Dr. John here.
And you don't have a psychology for finding out there's a thing he can't do. I don't know what it is. But I'm hearing a guy that I think...
See, that could be the case of, she married this competent military guy, whatever. But if you've ever been around a lot of military people, like I have, having some family in the military, having dated military people, having lived in areas close to bases, not to be salty, but if you spend any time around military people, you will very quickly see that, like, these are just regular people. Like, I don't think any woman could be married to a military guy for years and have this, like, weird filter on it of, like, he's just such a special person. Like, they're regular dudes. They're dweeby guys. They do dumb crap. Like, like, military guys are on TikTok doing little TikTok dances in uniform. Like, they're just regular people. So I think it's less about seeing her husband not be able to do something when he's often been competent, because for most women, I think if your partner is generally competent, actually having 1 or 2 areas where they're not, like 5% of the time they're not, is a humanizing, endearing thing. I don't think it's so much that. I think it's the lack of leadership, lack of vision, and, like she said, the denial.
It's pretty damn heroic. And I'm hearing a guy who, thank God he has a wife in his life who spoke truth to him and said, hey, this is killing you. I'm watching it happen.
Well, that's nice that he's saying this. He's being pretty balanced here. However, I also want to point out his show is on the Ramsey Network, and they say they're not anti-education on this network, but they're very anti-student loan, and they're very much pushing the trades and kind of dogging on, things like liberal arts degrees and performing arts degrees and anything that's not engineering, nursing, accounting, whatever. And they want you to pay cash for it in a country which is one of the only developed countries that has this high of tuition. So they will tell a young person calling into their show who's single and has no kids not to go to college or to not take out a student loan, because that's not a risk you should take. But this guy trying a job, making zero money, and for a full year not having even another job, he's making no money, and he has a family and kids, that's an okay financial risk to take. Do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense to me at all.
him permission to stop. And now, yeah, he's at a temporary place. Most guys I meet in this situation quit that job and just pick up a video game controller.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be a binary? Why is it you stick at this job where you're not making any money and you stay in denial for a year until your wife is like, bro, we can't survive? Or, oh, they just quit after a few weeks and then they just play video games and they become a shut-in and an addict. Like, sometimes this guy is right on the money. Other times I really question, because that's just very black and white thinking there. There's so many other options. There's so many other ways to skin the cat, figuratively speaking, that like, why is it, oh, well, at least he didn't quit right away and then just play video games? Like, really, bro? Like, I don't understand that.
So I guess what I'm saying is this: your feelings are right. I wonder if it's not resentment as much as it is grief, or it's just a resettling of, I had this big, awesome, strong Marine who then turned into a failed salesman.
Yeah.
See, it's really interesting because this is showing more about John's psyche and the male psyche than it is about the caller. When we get into the comments, you'll see how everyone's trying to make it about her. But you see that John's looking at this like, oh, this guy failed, but he was so courageous to try, and he found something he's not perfect at, and his wife is having trouble now that she's knowing her husband's a fallible man. And it's like, look, we as women, we know our partners are fallible people. Believe me, we know. That's not what this is about. This is showing more their own hang-ups that they're projecting onto this situation. This is about a lack of leadership and a lack of an ability to actually lead a family through a transitional time or through difficult times. That's what it comes down to.
There's definitely grief. And I think, too, I wasn't equipped for like his emotions during the military transition time.
It's a nightmare, man. It's a nightmare. It's one of I think our biggest embarrassments as a culture. It's shameful.
And I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning, but we also had like a newborn baby.
Sure, that didn't add
like
any complexity.
3-month-old. Yeah, we had like a 3-month-old when he got out of the military.
Right.
So I was also checked out in some ways.
Or you were checked completely in, just in a different direction.
I appreciate him saying this.
Yes, that's more accurate.
So checked out isn't true. You were just focused on keeping a human alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the part of the video where I'm surprised no man has commented this of like, oh, women don't care about men's emotions. They want men to open up emotionally, but they don't care. And sometimes that stereotype is true. But I think this is a really good example of, yes, this man's emotional state and everything he's going through as he's transitioning into civilian life. Yes, it is important. Yes, your partner should be there for you. However, A, they're not a licensed professional, and B, when you have a newborn baby, the needs of your baby go above the needs of a fully functioning adult. They just do. The practical physical needs. And so I think sometimes when men feel like they're not heard and they're not supported, sometimes their emotional state, let's say, they're not managing their emotional state, and it's during a crisis point or during a very important point like labor, delivery, postpartum, new baby. This is a time when a woman needs her man to be a rock for her, and she cannot be worrying about her man's mental state. I'm going to just be very blunt. Like, yes, there's a time and a place for that, but when you are really vulnerable, you've just gone through either a vaginal birth or a C-section, you may have tearing, you may have pelvic floor issues, You may have a baby that's colicky, that's not sleeping through the night. You may have postpartum depression. Your body's changed. You're acclimating to a new baby, trying to bond with a new baby. All of this stuff, the man's emotional hang-ups have to come second. They just do. They do.
And my guess is this. Have you heard me talk about pictures and words? I talk about it all the time.
Yes.
My guess is you had a very real picture of what life would be like when he got home. And he had a very real picture in his head about what life was going to be like when he got home. And you had a real picture of what life was going to be like when he took this 100% commission job. Whenever you take, I have one of those. Whenever you take a 100% commission job, they promise you the freaking moon.
That's true.
And both of you had a different picture about what that. I just think there's a lot.
My question is, since she's 31 and her husband sounds to be about the same age, I'm assuming both of their fathers are alive because they're very young. My question is, where's her dad? Where is his dad stepping in and saying, look, dude, I'm sympathetic to your situation. I want you to find something you're passionate about. But right now, you got a little kid. You got a baby, 3-month-old baby. You have a wife recovering from delivery and navigating the postpartum time and all the health and medical and mental things that come along with that. You need to just figure out something for the short term, and you need to figure it out fast. I'm surprised that there were no other male figures in this guy's life or in this woman's life to give him a reality check, and she had to give him a reality check. This is where we actually really need the male friendship and the male mentoring and all of that. Like, she's in the position where she looks controlling because she's having to step in and try to show him how to be a leader. And in reality, other more experienced men should be showing him how to be a leader and how to show up for his family in a time like this.
Of grief about, oh, the picture we had didn't play out that way.
You're right. And so maybe that's what he and I need to talk about.
I don't even know if it's that as much as what kind of house do you and I want to build moving forward? And if you go into that...
But is that possible? Because if he has not addressed his personality trait or whatever it is that causes him to go into denial, to put his family in really risky, precarious situations, then can they build a metaphorical house going forward? Because that personality trait or whatever that was going on has not been resolved. So how is she going to feel safe to go forward with this guy when the buck stops with her? She's the accountability. She's the brakes. It's not fun to be the accountability and the brakes in a relationship. I've rarely had to be in that role in romantic relationships. I have been in that role with platonic friendships, and that sucks. Guys, that sucks. I think that there's very few people that are actually just controlling and enjoy being controlling. I think that oftentimes we're put in a position kind of where, like, yeah, you could choose not to be controlling for sure. You could, like, let's say you're out with friends and they're drunk and they're trying to drive home and you take their key from them. Yeah, in that moment, that is controlling. At the same time, what's the result? So these dynamics, they're very important to exit. They're very unhealthy. But what I'm saying is there is an irresponsibility or a denial often that predates the quote-unquote controlling behavior. So it's really not fun. It's not fun to be the one tapping the brakes all the time, telling someone, hey, you're driving the car off the cliff with us in it. Can you not do that?
Conversation with, you failed at this, you failed at that, and I need you. I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to do what every other guy in the world's going to do, is just have another brick of shame piled on his shoulders. And he's going to put his head down and just go find another thing. If you can reframe.
So he's putting the responsibility on her to communicate and like couch this in really flowery language of, oh, you don't want him to feel shame. You don't want him to feel shame because he failed at something. Again, it's not about failing at something. It's about being in denial. It's about being passive. It's about no leadership, no taking accountability, not doing difficult things when your family needs you, and being able to make a decision and figure something out. That's what it's about. But now the responsibility is on her to broach the subject again. So now, again, she's in the active, she's in the masculine energy, actually, constantly. Because she's the one bringing up these conversations all the time. She's the one creating the container, the masculine container in their family system, right? So Dr. John is actually reinforcing that role instead of saying, okay, how can we as men rally around this guy and help him figure out how to hold the masculine container for his wife? So if the responsibility is still on her, she's still the one holding the container, no matter what job he's working.
And say, I saw a guy have to come home and learn how to be a dad, learn how to be a civilian, learn how to stand by morons in the grocery store line, being like, I can't believe it. And he's like, dude, I'll tell you what, I can't believe, right? And he had to deal with a pregnant wife and a postpartum wife, and he had to deal with 100%. You know what you have? You have a guy that will not quit on your behalf, probably to a fault.
You're right.
To a fault.
You're right. He's amazing.
And
You're
a virtuous wife is worth rubies. I need my wife to regularly say, I know you think this is a good idea.
Listen to John's language. I need my wife to say. So he's kind of making it about him. He's trying to relate. I get sometimes therapists want to relate. But again, there's a lot of projection going on. And like I said, in the comments, lots of projection
love
there
you,
too.
and I know you better than you do sometimes. Please don't do this for my sake, for our kids' sake, and for your sake. And
it's not a problem. It's not a problem for John's wife to hold him accountable sometimes. Good friendships, good relationships should have some mutuality with this, I think. Holding each other accountable when needed in a loving way. However, if you're the only one holding someone accountable, that's a problem. They need to hold themselves accountable as well.
Okay.
Okay.
And by the way, that took me about 15 years of being married before I had the courage to exhale and start trusting her in that way.
Yeah, so about twice as long as we've been married.
Right, so just stay on for me. But
15 years of marriage to trust that when your wife is like, hey bro, you're driving us off the cliff, that she's being honest with you? I don't know.
the deal. If you were to do, how old's your little one now?
She's 3,
Okay.
but I'm currently pregnant again.
Yeah, because why not? Okay, so because why not? Hey, and your body would be crazy if it didn't remember how tough that year was after your baby was born, and is already gearing up and shielding up for that year to reproduce itself. Mm-hmm. You should be tense. Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is important to point out. I think he's right on the money here, where they never resolved this issue. Now she's pregnant again, and her nervous system is activated because the crux of the issue hasn't changed. The crux of the issue is not that he failed. It's not that he's working in retail. It's not that he's making just okay money, whatever. It's not that. It's about her having to hold the masculine frame, hold the masculine container, hold him accountable. He doesn't hold himself accountable. He's passive. He's in denial. He's frozen. He's going through the motions. He hasn't been able to break through this malaise, ever since he came home from the military. And I'm not dogging on this guy saying this guy is a bad person, but I am saying the crux of the issue, I don't know if this guy has PTSD, depression, I don't know, but it's not been resolved. She's pregnant again. So of course part of her is amping up, because she doesn't feel safe. Because last time she had a brand new baby and her husband was making zero money and he wasn't doing anything about it as she's recovering from giving birth. He's not doing anything about it. And she has to be the one to step in and say, hey, this is not a tenable situation. So her body is, giving
So
her
what if you did
signals.
this? Can I give you a crazy thing to try? And I'm assuming now he's not a jerk. He's a good guy.
No, he's an amazing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I tell you what every man in the world would love in this situation?
Okay.
Will you write him a letter about what you saw when he came home? That you all and make it about virtues. I saw a confident man come back and try to take on the world for me and a brand new little girl. That's how you get up to a job that was killing you, and you kept going and you kept going, and you weren't successful, but you never stopped. And then you were a man who listened to his wife when I said, this is killing you, it's killing us. And you humbled yourself to go take a part-time job. And now you're working a job that you don't love. It's kind of taking your soul away too, but you're doing it for all of us. And I see that, and I'm so grateful I married you.
Oh, I think he would love that. You're like, I have tears in my eyes listening to you.
I know, but listen, here's the most important part. A, you're letting him know I saw you.
We're going to stop here. I think that's the general gist of this. Let's look at the comments. Okay. If they will show, let's refresh this here. Okay, let's sort by newest. Okay. Didn't hear her mention a single time this entire video how she's helping in any capacity. Again, brand new baby. Typical selfish Western woman. This makes me laugh as a Middle Eastern American woman who is literally both. I don't think they understand the definition of that. In today's world, one-income households almost unheard of. It's privileged to stay home. He's fully supporting his family, doing a fine job of it. Blah, 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 blah. Now let this working mother of four get off here and go get ready for her 12-hour night shift before I say something unkind. See, Anna Adams 326, I think, is overworked. And so she has to say something about this other woman and say, oh, you're so privileged and you're so blah, 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 However, here's the thing. He was not fully supporting his family. Now he is with the retail job. He was not when he was head in the sand at this commission-only job with a 3-month-old baby making zero money for a year. He was not supporting his family. This is not about her being privileged and entitled. This is, we're not bringing in any income and we have a baby. That's what this is. Someone said, why I won't marry military. Comes with its challenges, In a world where men's feelings get pushed to the side and don't matter, the letter idea is amazing. I'm not anti the letter, but again, there's a time and a space for men and women to have their feelings addressed. However, parents, when they have a baby, they need to put the needs of that child, this goes for both parents, the needs of that child go above that person's emotions. That doesn't mean that they don't matter. It just means that that's number one. And again, therapy is a thing. Therapy is an option. Men can go to therapy. They can get help. They can say, hey, look, my wife's going through a lot. She's postpartum. We have this new baby. I'm going through a lot. I'm trying to talk about stuff with her, but I also need someone else to talk to because I can't put this all on my wife when she's postpartum and she's bleeding and has chafed nipples from breastfeeding and postpartum depression and whatever. The timing and the way that men's feelings are dealt with is the part of this conversation that we don't talk about. Um, she needs to show some grace. Again, she's trying to. That's why she's calling on the show. They're talking about she came across as entitled and above it all when she has a partner most people would dream of. She's not even working herself either, which most women tend to do regardless of their relationship status. I don't know where he got that statistic from, because in the United States that's definitely not true. So I would not dream of a partner like this. Most people do not dream of a partner like this. I don't know where that's coming from. Is it entitled to want your spouse to make more than $0 when you have a newborn baby, and to want them to take the initiative on that without you having to be the one to say, hey, look, we're not above water. We're drowning here. I don't think so. She's just embarrassed. He isn't as prosperous as her friend's husband. Assumption right there, right? Raising a child at home is a part-time job. BTW dips. A dippy 31-year-old woman, anonymous commenter, of course. Do they spell commenter wrong? Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That says that has one career. I think they're just trying to say no career. I don't know. 31. This woman is a child. What a joke. He should divorce this leech. But you know she will take half his paycheck because she cannot make a dime. He can't make a dime either, bro. Half his paycheck of what? Half of 0 is still 0, friend. A female leech complaining her host does not have enough blood. Pick a side, women. Are you equal? I think not. Like, is this for real? Is this a real person? You know? And here's the thing. A lot of people are against gender essentialism, and I'm not all the way extreme on that side. However, there are things, yes, we are equal, but there are things that the male partner is incapable of doing. There are things men simply cannot do. Men cannot be pregnant. Men cannot push a child out of their vagina. Men cannot breastfeed. Men do not have to deal with pelvic floor issues and swollen, infected milk ducts and, tears and all. Like, they just don't. They don't. So a woman who's doing all these things for the family, for the baby, that the man cannot do, needs to be supported in other ways by the man. I don't know why in Western society people act so dumb around this, whereas as my Middle Eastern side, we just get this in a way that Western society just plays stupid about. It's very fascinating. Is she working? ? Did you hear the part that she has a toddler and she's pregnant and she had a baby prior when he was making no money? Women, children, and dogs are the only creatures loved unconditionally. Men are loved conditionally on what they provide. Again, this is not about conditional or unconditional love. This is about being an adult, being able to put aside certain things to make sure your wife and baby are fed. That's what it is. She resents he actually did what he wanted instead of letting her boss him around. I don't think she wants to boss him around. I think that's a large part of her resentment, actually, is that she had to step in after an entire year and say, bro, we're not making any money. I think that's actually a huge part of the issue, is he's in this passive role and she's having to take all the action. I bet his commission only job is life insurance sales. Oh my gosh, I have trauma. Read that. The amount of scammy life insurance people I have run into, I can't deal with it. Woo, wife, if you're listening, you better be glad you got a good man and you better shape up, honey. So condescending. I didn't hear her say what she does for a living or if she has income. All the burden is on him and he sounds awesome. Yes, the burden of pregnancy, childbirth, breastfeeding, all this, all the health complications, all that's on him. Absolutely, 100%. 100%. Okay. Why do men struggle so much with career stuff? I really want to understand, because the way I analyze it, a lot of men wait for their wives to guide them in a way. It's strange. It's almost like they don't want to work unless it's only for fun. Kind of how guys view their marriages too. This is a blanket statement. I don't fully agree with this generalization. However, I will say I do know a lot of men who struggle with career guidance and direction. I mean, a lot of people right now, because the economy is in such a weird spot. There's outsourcing and there's AI and all that. Okay. My husband and I both transitioned out of the military within months of each other. He went back to school. I had a job lined up. We had more children. He decided he didn't want a career for what he went to school for. So she was going to school while he was going to school while she was working, and while she was also birthing children. Built a lot of resentment as I worked, birthed kids, and he couldn't figure it out. He became a stay-at-home dad. I still resented him because he didn't do things how I wanted them done. In the thick of postpartum was the hardest. It took years to just let go. The resentment and stress was hurting me physically. We didn't divorce. I now work from home, and he's picked up homemaker duties. I still want more for him, but as of right now, I'm just grateful we are all home together and my job provides for the family. Interesting perspective there. I can't keep up with the comments on American videos. So much of the time they're bitching at women for not staying at home with kids, but apparently they're also a gold digger for not working. So which is it? I thought men were supposed to be providers. You cannot say that and then be upset when they're not providing adequately. And this is what I feel all the time, like I said, as an Iranian American woman, where there's parts of Eastern culture I really resonate with. There's parts of American culture I really resonate with, or Western culture, let's say, and I'm knowledgeable about both. It's so interesting to me because, yeah, a lot of men are acting like they want this traditional woman, but part of the traditional role for men is providing. So says, I think a lot of people are projecting onto her and being unnecessarily harsh. She has a hand in creating the situation, but he co-signed on her becoming a mother of two. Totally agree. Expecting her to get a job leaves whether he could agree to be a full-time dad out of the question, postpartum, etc. Maybe they both wanted her to be a stay-at-home mom, ? Maybe he gave her the idea that he would be a better provider before her getting her pregnant. Maybe he was depressed. They can see her frustration, all the effort she put in. She's helping hold the family together. I agree with this. I don't think they should have had another child before figuring out their financial situation and working on these issues. I think both of them are in the wrong for that. I think that's unfair to bring a child into the situation, but I don't know all the details with that. They say she's an awful wife. She's insufferable. Irony, she resents him for not making enough, and she's not pulling in a red cent. She needs to do a part-time job or a hustle when he's off work. I did it when my kids were younger. Find a work-at-home job. Okay, work-at-home jobs are very competitive to get right now. It's a good idea in theory, but also when you have a baby that young, they need around-the-clock care. In fact, I pulled up this article from Forbes. This was in 2018, talking about breastfeeding mothers. So if a mother is exclusively breastfeeding, so for the first year of the child's life, which is generally recommended if possible, for the health of both the mother and the child, that takes up, conservative estimate, 1,800 hours that year. And the average 40-hour-a-week job is around 1,960 hours of work a year. So breastfeeding in the first year takes almost as much time as a literal job. And that does not actually include anything else besides time breastfeeding. So changing diapers, cleaning the baby's bottles or supplies if she's also pumping, hanging out with the baby when she's not breastfeeding, like all the other stuff that does not include. So it is literally a full-time job to breastfeed. So if you can find a work from home job, if you're not like in some sort of specialized field, it's probably going to be something like customer service. You're probably going to be on phones. Can you be on phones when you're breastfeeding a baby under the age of 1 around the clock? Maybe, I'm not against side hustles. I'm not against the idea of her contributing, but the early years of babies and toddlers, that's so important. So the fact that people are acting like she's a leech when she was just pregnant, then taking care of this baby, and now she's pregnant again and taking care of a 3-year-old who's not old enough to go to school yet, that's wild. At least he works. My husband won't get off the couch. Okay. Social status, that's all in money. She will divorce him eventually. So many assumptions, right? She sucks. You'll never be good enough until you're already rich. Speaking for my Generation Z, older gens birthed the last of normal women. Something these older gens don't understand or care about is how disgustingly demonic Gen Z ladies are. Men will continue to be blamed whether we work 20 hours a day or not. She's being called demonic, guys. Disgustingly demonic. Also, she's not Gen Z if she's 31. I'm pretty sure she's a younger millennial. But this woman saying, hey, we are making no money. We have a baby. We are making no money. We gotta get this together. And her having some emotional, issues coming up about that again, since she's pregnant with her second child and in a even more of a vulnerable situation because now she's gonna have a new baby and another child. That's disgustingly demonic. That's all it takes, guys. That's all it takes to be demonic. I thought pedophiles are demonic and rapists and people that coerce other people for sex and use date rape drugs. That's my definition of demonic. Clearly, we have very different issues. This is why women are the problem. Wow, this man was a Marine and is working nonstop for his family. She's resenting him. Focus on yourself, kings. Shameless. Absolute shame on her. Dudes need to deal with her just for some pussy? Lol, stay single, fellas, and stack your bread. Give these 304s some crumbs. So she's being called a 304, so a hoe, whore, slut, whatever. Because she's calling this psychologist anonymously and saying, hey, I'm struggling with this. That's all it takes. Someone said, I love this comment, Kaylee, I might know where the rest of this resentment that you keep holding on to comes from. When you're a mother, you are so incredibly vulnerable, and you have to be for your child. You have to be completely soft and receptive and adaptive. It's not the best time to become tense from worrying about finances or make yourself strong to face those challenges. You basically need someone else to be strong for you, and you need the someone to be strong right in that moment, not in a year later or 2. Of course, everyone can struggle at any given moment, but it's a pity when your husband struggles right when you experience the peak moment of vulnerability and softness in your life. Some men don't know that this is the moment for them to fight and shine, And that is important no matter what crisis they might be in. I love this comment. I wonder if this is a man or a woman. I can't tell who's making this comment. And I think that this is what it comes down to. I'm very sympathetic if this guy has mental health issues. I really am. That's something that would need to be addressed and worked through. But this is what people are not seeing. She is in one of the most vulnerable moments of her life, and she has babies to be taken care of, and she needs him to be a leader and to be strong for their family while she and the babies are in this very, new, fragile state. Okay. Get your own good job, lady. This get over it, question mark. This woman sounds insufferable. Stop nagging him. This is what happens when you pick a man based on lust. You can tell I'm losing my voice. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to keep going. I talk for a living. Use my voice for a living, I should say. So, struggling here, but I don't know if that's true. Maybe she just picked him because he was attractive. I don't know what his track record was like. This is why feminism is failing. This woman is literally telling you all she doesn't respect her husband for making little money. Like, it's so binary. It's like none of these men in these comments can understand. It's about the money, yes, but the broader concept is being very vulnerable in pregnancy, childbirth, and recovery, and needing to feel like you can rely on your partner, basically. So let's go look at a few more of these. She's probably upset she can't afford a new Suburban, guys. Oh. So many. I can tell that there's so much energy on this video because you can tell my throat chakra is being blocked. And if you don't believe in that, that's fine. But that is what I'm experiencing. So, they're talking about military wives who love the vicarious image and status of their husbands. Maybe this is the case. We don't really know. Remember, boys, you could be struggling to find your place in the world and your wife will resent you for being a failure. Dependipotamus. Well, again, they're making it about success and about the dollar amount, and it's about leadership. That I think is, I keep saying that. I keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. But that's what it's about, basically. So these comments go on and on. I saw maybe 5 positive ones out of like almost 800. I think he needs to speak with an attorney and look at his options. Hope he finds someone that supports him. Yeah. So she's a 304. She's demonic. Her husband should leave her. She should shut the fuck up. Yeah. So what's the takeaway? Don't call a show that is, it's not national television, but the internet's version of national television, because you're going to get ripped to shreds. Resentment is not a good emotion to marinate in, but it's a very helpful emotion because it shows where something's wrong that hasn't been addressed, or shows where there's a mismatch in in an agreement of what you've had with that person, and someone's not holding up their side of the agreement. So that's something to be seen as a warning sign and to address, but it's not something to demonize. Emotions are just signals, basically, showing us where the fire is. So I think that this really shows how much of an issue we're having right now with male projection, where they're projecting all these backstories on her that we have no idea if this is true, and all these slurs and ad hominems. The male collective nervous system is highly dysregulated right now, and there's a lack of genuine masculinity, of masculine leadership, of fortitude. Fortitude, the definition I grew up with hearing is fortitude is doing what you need to do, doing the right thing when it's difficult. So doing the right thing when it's easy, like, that's great, but fortitude goes beyond that. So developing the ability to delay gratification and to make sacrifices for the greater good of yourself and your family, that's really, really important. It sounds like a lot of people want women to just shut up and suffer when there are problems that could be prevented or problems that could be fixed or addressed. And when women are bringing these things up, I would never advocate for someone who's not in an abusive relationship to just dump the marriage. But I see why some people do, because sometimes when women are bringing things up, they're getting emotionally and verbally abused by other people for even daring to bring it up. They're a terrible, ungrateful, entitled person for having an issue and feeling the way that they do and trying to address it. So it's like, well, what do you want? Do you want women to stay in marriages and not get divorced? Or, what's the solution here? I think they really just want us to be quiet, to suffer, and to be this fake version of femininity where we're actually masculine. We're actually powering this whole thing. The people in the comments saying that this woman who's pregnant, about to give birth, and has a 3-year-old should work and stop complaining about her husband making zero money during the commissions job is wild to me. I don't understand this, I guess because I'm Middle Eastern, and it's very uncommon for people to bottle feed in my extended family. So I never grew up with that. I grew up seeing a lot of women breastfeeding and knowing that that is a really important thing for the health of the mom and the health of the baby and the bonding, and just seeing how time consuming it was. But it is labor of love. To hear what people say, it's like, do you want her to just dump her 3-month-old baby at a daycare and throw them some formula and be gone for 8 hours plus commute time working? Like, I'm not against women working, and if they have to do that to literally to survive, I get it. But if there's a way to at all make more money without resorting to that, to me, that's not being a trophy wife. You're not a trophy wife if you're at home taking care of a toddler and breastfeeding a baby around the clock. You're caretaking for your family. If that's not a bad thing, that's not a dig on stay-at-home moms. It's just a realistic thing. You're not living a life of leisure. You're taking care of your family around the clock. So I really don't understand. But I think women need to advocate for ourselves, but we need to, unfortunately, because people are so triggered right now and activated and verbally abusive, and yes, it still counts in internet comments, still counts. Just because you're hiding behind a fake name and no profile picture and you think you can type whatever you want still counts as an abusive interaction. I would say women need to make their moves silently. You know, definitely address things with your partner if you need to, but I would not recommend anyone to be calling a show like this. So, anyways, that's it. This is going to be a very long video, but I hope you guys comment below and tell me what you think and what you thought about John's advice and what you thought about the comments.